I'm here with Dana Gould for Stand Against Evil, and this horror comedy series is amazing. Where did the inspirations and origins of it come from?
Well, I grew up in a small town in New England, and growing up in the 70s, there were all of these shows that I watched growing up, like Dark Shadows and The Night Stalker and Night Gallery. And I was a monster movie nut as a kid, still am. And the basic premise of the show was, what if I had a really scary horror movie and I just put my dad in the middle of it? And he would behave like my father, in which he wouldn't really care about the monsters, but everybody would have to deal with him because he's there in the middle of it. And that's basically the show. It's like sometimes the best ideas are the simplest ones, but they take you the longest to get to. And the way the show is, the monsters are played straight as a heart attack. They don't know they're not in a horror movie. They're scary. The people behave in a normal way because they're tethered to reality because of Stan. That's the show.
Why do you think horror lends itself so well to comedy?
Well, they're cousins. You know, laughter and screaming are the same thing. They're involuntary reflexes that release tension. And they're both constructed the same way in movies. They're gags, and you build the gag. You set up the tension, then you pay it off. You either do it with a scare or a laugh. But they're very, very similar. And the reason our monsters are all practical, real, is because that you need to be grounded that firmly in reality for the comedy to work. And so that keeps us honest.
You mentioned that Stan is based largely on your dad.
Completely.
Are the other characters from people you know, or did you generate them?
I kind of generated them. Evie is basically based on who I view Janet Varney as.
Okay.
She's just this, I wrote it for Janet. She's a friend. She's very, very beautiful, very smart, very sarcastic and funny, but also very strong and very brave. Like she's sort of like the female Harrison Ford, but she's a better pilot. And then the other
added punch.
And then the other characters are sort of Denise was inspired by like who I thought he would have as a daughter. Leon is basically Barney Fife because I think it's the funniest thing in the English language, and then I just play a kind of a guy based on a guy from Hopedale, my hometown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So we left off season 1 in a really strange place with somebody kind of off in another
trouble?
place. Yeah. Is there anything you can tell us about season 2?
We have some time travel that allows people to get out of jams, but. As often happens when people try to make their situation better, sometimes they make it much, much worse. Maybe that happens.
Okay. Well, I look forward to season 2, and thank you so much.
It was really nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.